Questions about Bible doctrines? Turn to Matt Slick Live for answers. Taking your calls and responding to your questions at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, everyone. Hey, how are you doing out there? If you want to give me a call, as usual, all you got to do is dial 877-207-2276. All right, got a little bit of good news for you. We are on the verge of releasing the new schools. We're actually running tests on them right now. I'm logged in and going with the web designer. We're talking, had one glitch on my end. I'm pretty good at messing things up. My wife will verify that. And so I'm a good tester because I'm like, wait a minute, what happens if you click this while you're doing that? Next to this, let's click that too. And now I'm going to turn the power off. And, and so we hopefully will be releasing them today, tomorrow, maybe this weekend. Who knows? And unless there's a glitch we don't know about. But for those of you who have already signed up for the schools, they will port over to the new format. All your login and everything should be the same. That's the idea. We hopefully it'll work. You know, there's always little issues sometimes. But if it doesn't work, you email us and we'll get you set up. But it'll be fun. These for me, because I get to watch my wife do all the panic working. You know, hey, look at the password. And it'll be fun for me. Just watch her and I can sit there and eat a sandwich while she's panicking. I don't mind. You know, it's okay. It's what husbands do. And let's see, what else is there? Okay, if you want to give me a call, hey, 5 open lines. Give me a call, 877-207-2276. Last night, I released an article you might be interested in checking out. If you go to carm.org, I'll do it right now, carm.org/vaccine COVID. Okay, I produced something. It's the first article listed under the articles title. You have the introduction, articles, exemption letter, tables and graphs, opinion. So in the articles, it says the COVID vaccine fact sheet. And you can read what's on the fact sheet right there. And it's also, I produced it in a PDF so that you can download the PDF and you can print it up on double-sided paper. You know, you can print it up left and right, you know, for 8.5 by 11. You can fold it, you can carry it with you. It's got vaccine information, and it's fully documented. Human use of human fetal tissue in developing and testing, Johnson & Johnson sales, Moderna sales, Pfizer sales, and then vaccine effectiveness. I've got several quotes in there, and I mean quotes from the official sources that you can show people. Because I know that more and more people are being hassled about not wanting to get the vaccines. Now, if you want to get it, that's your business. That's fine. But I want people to be educated and not to be forced. That's my thing. And so, for example, point number 9 is that the total number of COVID-19 related deaths reported by the CDC for 2019 up to October 15th, of this year, is 13,422 deaths related. After receiving the vaccine, 13,422 people have died. The total of all vaccine-related deaths, excluding COVID-19 vaccines, so all of them since 1968, all that the CDC has combined and reported, all of them combined up to the same date, is 9,184. So that's 9,184. We'll just say 9,000. 9,000 deaths have been related to all vaccines combined since 1968, and 13,400 for just COVID vaccines. Wow. So is the COVID vaccine safe? Well, maybe. Deaths among COVID-19 vaccinated. Data from England shows 63% of Delta deaths in the last 7.5 months were fully vaxxed. Injuries reported due to COVID-19 vaccines. I've got all kinds of stuff, like autoimmune inflammatory syndrome, blood clotting, and it goes on and on. If you've had the vaccine and you're panicking, well, don't worry about it. If you're okay, you're okay. But people have to know what's going on. Did you know 30,000 women have reported an alteration in their menstrual cycle after taking the vaccine? Then there's issues on natural immunity, on mask effectiveness, on the flu. And I've done my homework. Check this out. The H1N1 virus of 2009 resulted in a 0.69% death rate. COVID-19 is 0.27% death rate. This is from the CDC. I have the documentation right there. Why is it that that COVID shut the economy down when it's only about the H1N1 is about 2.5 times more deadly, and yet the economy wasn't shut down. But with COVID, it is. What's going on? Then they got a bunch of questions at the end, and all of this you can just print out and you can carry it with you, hand it out to people. And if they hassle you, say, "Hey, here's some facts." This is not everything. I just wanted to put enough stuff there on 2 pages so you can print it up both sides, carry it with you. I'd say print up several and then distribute them if people ask you questions. Why did you get the vaccine? Because I value my body, things like that. Or if you have to, because you got to, feed your family. I get it. I get it. I would do it if I had to in those conditions too. But anyway, there you go. Okay. So, yeah. And Bill says in the chat room, because of socialism. Yes. I'm thinking about putting an article together, and I'm actually developing one on the overall movement of social control of vaccine passport mandates, which are approaching, the control of the economy by the leftists, and the control of our personal lives by the leftists in telling us what we can and can't put in our bodies, things like that, and how this is bad. Here's another thing is that just something to think about, because I've been saying this, and this is really important for people to understand, that if a majority of people, say 90% of the population, believes one thing, and only 10% believes the other, the 10% can gain control if they can sow division in the 90%. If they can sow division, make accusations, sow division, then they can gain power, because if the 10% is united and the 90% is disunited, the 90% is not going to get anything done. The 10% can move in and take over. And this has been repeated in socialist movements throughout history. So what are some of the ways that you keep people divided? White supremacy, racism, everything. And that's what's going on. Is everybody's racist? I'm racist because I'm white. I'm a white guy, so therefore I'm automatically racist. That's what they say. In fact, that reminds me, I went and read a book I got. Oh my goodness. It's a book that's being pushed to elementary school children. And I'm getting up my my Kindle here where I have my books and stuff, and I'll show you. I went through and read this thing. It's a lot of pictures, a lot of stuff like that for the kidsies. And the book is Not My Idea. And it is propaganda, leftist, socialist propaganda designed. I read it. It only takes 15 minutes to read the whole thing. It actually teaches people to consider white people as dangerous and as prejudicial and as oppressors if you're white. Seriously. And the police are also bad. It's called Not My Idea, and this stuff is put into children's schools. And what's really interesting is on the cover of that book is a cross made of wood with a couple little things by it so that it's a little bit hidden. But I showed my wife, I said, look at this. Why is there a cross up there? And it is. You can see it. I'm looking at it right now. Written and illustrated by an Anastasia Higginbotham. And it is propaganda. And there's actually a page in there that looks like, I'm going to find it. Oh, man, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It's like, this is so bad. Let me find it, because I know I'm talking about it. I'm going to describe it to you. This is one of the things that's happening to our children, that they want to control the children. It's one of the things that socialism does. It takes over the schools, and then it inculcates, or another word is brainwashes the children to believe certain leftist ideas. And so look on page 33. In the United States of America, white people have committed outrageous crimes against black people for 400 years. All along, every step of the way, people who love justice and love each other have been fighting back. That's what they say. This is a thing for the children to read. And it's like, oh, really? That's how that works. And it's inaccurate in a lot of ways too. A lot of people don't know that there were black slave owners as well, and there were also people who were white who were slaves during the 1700s and stuff like that. People don't know that, but they're not going to tell you everything. And were the blacks enslaved and mistreated? Of course they were. Is it happening now? Well, we're trying to work on all of that, right? But what happens is they're sowing discord, and they're trying. I'm going to find. Oh, here we go. I found it. They're trying to. Come on, get over there. Come on. There it is. This is it. Whiteness is a bad deal. It always was. This is on the left page. Dude, we can see your ponytail. There's something going, but there's actually, it's in red. Whiteness is a bad deal. It always was. You believe that crap? And then on the right, it says contract. And behind it, there's flames. There's a $20 bill. And there's what looks like a hoof or a couple of hooves with a tail that has an arrow on it. And those tails are often used to represent the devil. And with hooves, then there's a white hand coming out, and there's a contract binding you to whiteness. You get stolen land, stolen riches, special favors, and whiteness gets to mess endlessly with the lives of your friends, neighbors, loved ones, and all fellow humans of color for the purpose of profit and your soul. So sign below. Land, riches, and favors may be revoked at any time for any reason. So you sign this. This is propaganda. Folks, this is the kind of stuff going on. Why am I talking about it as a Christian apologist? Because all areas of life are under the lordship of Jesus Christ. And these kinds of things need to be addressed from the pulpit. They need to be addressed from radio. They need to be addressed, and people need to know about them. This is what's happening in the schools. Not in every school that's showing this book, but this is in a lot of those schools. And the parents are upset, saying, stop it. And maybe that's why that guy, the trucker, won the Senate seat, New Jersey or Virginia, I think it was. And when he spent $153 on his advertising campaign initially, and did a commercial shot on a single smartphone, and he won. People are getting so tired of the idiocy that is going on. Folks, you have to be informed. You have to be informed. As Christians, it's not just that we ask Bible questions. We ask, what about our democracy? What about our republic? What about the police? What about medicine? What about our food? All of it fits under the purview of the Lordship of Jesus Christ. People don't know that, and it needs to be taught from the pulpit. This is good theology. It doesn't mean we trample everybody underfoot. It does mean that we love God and we love our neighbor. That's what we're obligated to do as Christians. And we're to hold all things under the subjugation of the Lordship of Jesus Christ. This means what medicines you take, what exercise you do, what cars you drive, all for the glory of the Lord Jesus Christ, ultimately. And your children, if you take them and dump them off at government schools, and then the government starts brainwashing them, Christian parent, you're the one responsible. You're the one responsible for what happens. Now, I know some people say, I can't afford to put them in private school. I got you. Pray, get a collective going, homeschool, do whatever you can. But you got to protect your children from the brainwashing that's coming and has been here for a while. There, how's that for an opening? Hey, there's the music. We'll be right back, folks, after these messages. We have 3 open lines, 877-207-2276. We'll be right back.
I'm Jonathan McKee, and you're listening to Plugged In. American science fiction author Isaac Asimov published a series of short stories in the 1940s and 50s titled Foundation. 80 years later, Apple TV is trying to bring that award-winning story to the small screen. Emphasis on the word trying.
Change is frightening, especially to those in power. But we can soften the fall.
Ask any fans of Asimov's original stories, and you aren't going to hear much positive about this series. Yes, it's a sci-fi tale of a band of exiles trying to save humanity from the rule of the Galactic Empire, and the visuals are actually amazing, but that's about it. Not to mention content issues like explicit scenes, brutal violence, foul language sprinkled throughout. Yet another series in the category of just read the books. Before streaming the latest shows, visit pluggedin.com/radio. I'm Jonathan McKee for Focus on the Family's Plugged In.
We live in an on-demand world. Time, weather, meals, and content. That's why the Truth Network has the Truth Podcast Network. Some of your favorite Truth Network programs, plus some that are podcast only. Rich content that is rich in the Word.
Truth for a New Generation with Alex McFarland podcast is content for all generations of Christians. Alex is an apologetics author and speaker. Alex's greatest passion is fueling any Christian's faith and giving all the stuff needed to do the same. Truth for a New Generation podcast at truthnetwork.com.
Your will must always be the engine. Your emotions must always be the caboose.
Dr. Tony Evans says there's danger when we let the feelings we can't control guide us.
The moment the caboose is pulling the train, your journey is in trouble.
Personal and powerful messages on living with loss. This week on The Alternative with Dr. Tony Evans. This week, Chuck Swindoll draws insight for living from the deep well of Matthew's Gospel.
When you face a dilemma, listen to the quiet voice of integrity, not the shout of the majority. The majority is seldom right.
Chuck Swindoll's comprehensive study through the book of Matthew is coming to a crescendo. Join us this week to hear Insight for Living.
How often do you and your spouse really talk beyond chit-chat or what to do with the kids? Next on Living on the Edge with Chip Ingram, Chip picks up where he left off in his series Keeping Love Alive Volume 2 by discussing how couples can better communicate. Learn how to have a genuine heart-to-heart conversation with your spouse starting today. Don't miss Living on the Edge with Chip Ingram.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. We have 3 open lines if you want to give me a call. 877-207-2276. All right, let's get to Alberto from Savannah, Georgia. Welcome. You're on the air.
Good evening, Matt Slick.
Good evening.
Yeah, I got 2 questions for you.
All right.
Can you explain the proper context of John 10:16?
Well, when you say explain the context, you're asking me to go into the text and look what's before and after. And so that's what you mean by explain the context. But if you're asking what does it mean, the idea of other sheep, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah, because I heard some preachers say, well, there's some sheep are not under my fold, they're going to bring him in. What does it mean by that?
Yeah, so most commentators, and I agree, say that it's dealing with the Gentiles. Now, you got to remember something. This will make sense when you understand a little bit of theology, is that God established a covenant with Abraham to bless all the nations. That's Genesis 12:3. And that is quoted in Galatians 3:8 by Paul the Apostle, and he calls it the gospel. In you, all the nations shall be blessed. All right, well, that's the broad scope of the things that include the Jews and the Gentiles. However, covenantally, Jesus was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, Matthew 15:24. He was not sent to the whole world. He was not sent to the Gentiles. He was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel because Jesus says so. But because covenantally Israel rejected the Messiah, they then broke the covenant. And when you have a covenant, there are stipulations in the covenant. And when they're broken, then the covenant is dissolved. So, for example, my wife and I are married. We have a covenant. And in fact, our 35th wedding anniversary is coming up in a couple weeks. And so when one of us dies, that's when the covenant between us in marriage is no longer in effect. Till death do you part. So we're married as long as we're alive, but when one of us dies, the first one who dies, then the other one is automatically not married anymore. The covenant is now void because there's a condition in it. Likewise, the condition of the Old Testament covenant for Israel was to recognize the Messiah and proclaim him as the proper king of who he is over the nation of Israel. They refused to do that. And because of it, they broke that. We then, the Gentiles, are grafted in. So this is the context. Ultimately, I have other sheep. Notice he says sheep, not goats, because there's only two kinds of people, sheep and goats. Sheep are those who are his, and goats are those who are not. Sheep on the day of judgment are on the right side, and the goats are on the left. Left is a place of judgment and condemnation. Right is a place of safety and authority. And so he says, I have other sheep. That's dealing with believers and the elect ultimately, which are not of this fold. Most probably it's the Jewish fold. I must bring them also, that they will hear my voice, and they will become one flock with one shepherd. So when he says, hear my voice, when you go to John 10:27, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And when he says, I know them, it means they're saved, because Jesus never says to an unbeliever, I know you, and just says that and leaves it. He does say to the unbelievers in one place, I know you, you're of your father the devil. He qualifies it, but there's no statement where he says, I know you, of an unbeliever. When he says, I know people, it means that they're saved. When he says, I don't know you, like Matthew 7:23, it means they're not saved. So the sheep are those who are ultimately the elect. And since the elect are both sheep, Jews and non-Jews or Gentiles, then that's what it seems to be talking about in John 10:16. Okay?
Okay. My other question is,
Sure.
I saw a video on the internet about TJ. He said about the word El Shaddai. He said that means more than enough. So why they always use that more than enough term always to material things? So why can they not use it more than enough? I want to step up for the cause of Christ. I want to serve Christ more than enough.
I don't understand the issue that they're raising. So I'm not sure how to respond to it. El Shaddai,
He means that more than enough, not enough, but more than enough. The word El Shaddai means more than enough.
Yeah, he meets all of our needs. We don't have to worry about anything. That's what's going on. It's interesting, because if he meets all of our needs, which if he meets all of our needs, we have to understand that we can't interpret that to mean anything that, not anything, but we can't interpret it to mean what the positive confessionists mean, that God wants you to always be healthy and wealthy. And this blasphemy that they teach, which is accepted by so many Christians, because sometimes what we need is to be disciplined. And sometimes what we need is to glorify God, even at the sake of losing our lives. So it's a difficult thing. We talk about, El Shaddai, which the exact meaning is not really known. It's not really known, but there are references to it, and I think it just really means, provider.
Okay, he'll provide not only our physical needs, but our spiritual needs.
Yes, he will. So use my wife as an example on the show. She has this exceedingly rare connective tissue disorder, which has led to her open heart surgery and multiple other surgeries, and osteoporosis. And she's in constant pain, and especially more when I'm around, but she's in constant pain. And we pray every night, and I pray over her every night, almost every single night, like 99.9% of the time. And I pray for her to have a good night's sleep. And I pray that God would heal her body. And so far, the years I've been praying this, she still has trouble in all of these areas. And the fact that that is the case does not negate our faith in God, because we are here to submit to his will, not him to us. It could be that her provision by God is through this sinful husband of hers who tries to take care of her and help her. And then I learn how to be a better Christian in the process. It could also be that she will have a higher place in heaven because she is enduring through the pain and praising God through it. And that's a greater thing than simply being healed, because being healed means that you no more problems in that respect. But what about those who pray faithfully and are not healed, and then die after years in that without ever having been healed? They enter into heaven which is a greater glory for God? For the person who has praised him and trusted him in spite of the situation and circumstances. And then the reward in heaven is that much greater for eternity. Which is better? We have to submit to God's will and not our own. We think in the short term, God thinks in the long term. And what we do is we ask God, and then we submit our will to his will, just as Jesus did in Luke 22:42. Not my will, but your will be done. Okay?
Mm-hmm. And that verse came to me in my mind.
Hold on.
You mentioned that.
We got a break.
Paul said
We got a break.
the trust in our present.
Hold on. We got a break, okay? So we'll be right back. We'll put you on hold. We'll be right back. Folks, we have 3 open lines. 877-207-2276. We'll be right back.
Dr. Charles Stanley.
It isn't just a little thing. It's gratitude. It's overflowing. That is, we are so grateful about what God has done in our life and what he's doing. We can't keep it to ourselves. That's why I can't imagine anybody not being willing to share their faith. Look what you've got to tell.
The teaching of Dr. Charles Stanley on In Touch, helping you grow in Christ every day.
How many times have you come to your end of your resources and said to yourself, this is where I will settle? And God is saying, no, I want to take you further.
Dr. Michael Youssef.
Don't let fear keep you from going further. Don't let fatigue stop you from climbing the mountain of God.
Join Dr. Michael Youssef this week on Leading the Way.
Our problems can cause worry and anxiety, and worry and anxiety make it difficult to solve the problems. This week on A New Beginning, Pastor Greg Laurie helps us find relief in the book of Romans. We'll see the Lord stands ready to help us and stands with us in our times of trial. Be listening this week for A New Beginning.
How about a negotiation tip that may not only save you some money, but help you get your kids in bed on time?
Staying on the highway with the Christian Car Guy.
I like to call this one the change-up pitch. When you're stuck on a price or your child's begging for 5 more minutes, try asking the salesman to throw in an extended warranty and a navigation radio. Chances are you can add some real value to your deal. And then when your child asks for 5 more minutes, ask if they would mind using that 5 minutes to take out the trash.
Staying on the highway with the Christian Car Guy. For more tips, go to ChristianCarGuy.com.
Hey everyone, I'm Maria Bear, writer and co-host of Breakpoint This Week, your weekly conversation on news and culture from a Christian worldview perspective. I'm inviting you to join me and John Stonestreet each weekend right here on this station for a 30-minute look through what's happening in our world and how we as Christians should respond with truth and love together.
Join us for Science, Scripture, and Salvation, a radio ministry of the Institute for Creation Research. We want to encourage you in your Christian faith by showing how scientific evidence supports the Bible, particularly the Genesis account. When we see that the first and most foundational book of the Bible can be trusted in all matters, including science, it builds confidence in the rest of the inspired Word all the way to Revelation.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Hey, let's get back to Alberto right after I give the number. 3 open lines, 877-207-2276. All right, let's get back to Alberto. You there?
Yeah, like I was saying, the Apostle Paul said the suffering of this present time, not compared to the glory that he was going to receiving. So that's my what verse? Can you find, you know what chapter and verse is that at? What book it is?
Could you repeat that? Could you repeat that?
The suffering from this present time is not compared to the glory he's going to receive.
Let's see. I don't know where that is. Here it is. Found it. Romans 8:18. I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory that is to be revealed to us. That's a very good verse for that. Romans 8:18. Excellent. See, there you go, man.
All right,
See,
thank
it's a
you.
good verse. I should associate
God
that
bless.
with
Keep
that.
up the great
topic.
work.
By God's grace. By
Yeah.
God's grace. All right, man. Okay. Okay, we'll get.
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy. All right. For open lines, let's get the number out: 877-207-2276. Give me a call, folks. All right, let's get to Aaron from Seattle. Aaron, welcome. You're on the air.
Thank you, Matt. I just had a question, less about content and more about process. I was listening to your show that you did yesterday, answering a question on early church fathers, and you gave out some great resources on that. But you said that when you write an article, you do the research and then you codify it, and then you do the article. And I am one that likes to capture as much as I can. But I don't feel like I'm still searching for a good system to track, and to gather all the information.
I know what to do.
And so I was just wondering if you could. All right.
Yeah.
Great. Go ahead.
So what I would recommend that you do is, I'm assuming you have Microsoft Word. Do you?
Yes.
Okay. Look at their outline feature. And since I use Word so much, what I do, and I'm going to open up one of them right now. Let's see. How about outlines on, let's see, atheism. And so that doesn't have very much in it. I'll open my Catholicism one because it's a little bit on the large size. It's like 191 pages. So what you can do when you are there is open up your Word, experiment a little bit, and what you want to do is create an outline. And what I do is I just pick a topic, it doesn't matter, and I just type it in, and then I hit the outline feature on it at the top of the page, and it puts a 1 next to it.
Okay.
And then after it, I hit, enter, and then tab, and then it goes in, and whatever you're talking about. Let's just say you're talking about Catholicism, for example. Well, I might want to do Mary, and then I might have a topic on the Eucharist. I might have a topic on tradition, and so I'm going to write those in there, and I'm going to do it. I do them biblically. I do them in order alphabetically. And then what I do is at the top, on the home page, the home part of it, it has heading 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so what I do is I assign on the first level heading 1, and I go to the second level, I hit level 2 or heading 2, and so forth and so on. Because what happens is it then shows up in the navigation bar to the left under those headings.
Okay.
And then you can, and what I also do is I go in and I add an index. Sometimes I'll spend 2-3 hours just indexing. I go through and I add index. You can learn how to do that. It's not hard. And then I multiply, I add my index. In fact, if I go right now down to my document, let's see, I update the field. Then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages. The index for this document is 7 pages with double columns. And so what happens is, as I develop this outline, it grows. So I have, for example, a section called Verses Examined. And then underneath that, I have literally 119 verses listed. And then what I do is I go in and I give the verse. It's a sublevel 2 under the sublevel 1 or the level 1 of Verses Examined, and I'll put the verses, and I put them in biblical order, and then I analyze each one, put the text in, and then do commentary if necessary, church father quotes if necessary, so that I can use it as an apologetics thing. And so I have stuff on tradition, oral tradition, Trent. I just added stuff by Thomas Aquinas on Summa Theologica, where he affirms predestination. And so this is what you do. Okay.
That's great. Is there like a sample document for chance I could just look at an example?
Sure. If you were to email me, fact, what I'm going to do, because you've said this and because others have asked now, what I'll do is create a sample document and just for download. In fact, maybe I'll write an article researching on apologetics research. I'll just put, here's how I do it and stuff like that, because I'm so slick that obviously I do it the right way. That's, I'll say that. And how to do indexes and stuff. Maybe I could even do a video on it and put it up there for people to watch. But it's extremely helpful. And so on the left, like all I have to do is click on, let's see, I'll scroll down to gospel, right? It takes me right down to gospel, which is on page 41. The gospel is defined as death, burial, resurrection. And then is the gospel of the Roman Catholics the same as false religions? And that's a question. And I have the false gospel of Catholicism. And then underneath that, I have the short version of that because it's long. And a lot of this is for cutting and pasting and things like that. And then grace, I have a section called grace. And then grace of actual and sanctifying is level 2. And then I hit enter and then tab and then go to level 3 where I actually define. You'll see. And that way, it's very, very helpful and it's good.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah. Email me at info@carm.org and maybe I can remember to do it tomorrow because I got to teach a Bible study tonight. And I have, just so I got to brag. I'm bragging. You got me bragging. I have outlines on Calvinism, science, philosophy, Catholicism, the canon, slavery, necessity of God's existence, the issue of the one and the many, baptism, government, Islam on various people, groups and cults, interpretation of the Bible, biblical apologetics, philosophy, objective morality, atheism, Eastern Orthodox, COVID, and oneness. These are all the outlines I'm working on.
Wow.
And
how do you
what?
How do you mean?
Huh?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how do you maintain the discipline? Because as soon as I learn something, I just want to write it and then ponder on it and think about it and write down all my own thoughts. And my hardest part is sticking to the research and gathering all. So just focus. I think it's just a matter of focus. I have a hard time.
Well, I have Asperger's. So I have Asperger's, and there are advantages and disadvantages to that. So I remember numbers. In fact, I went to Costco yesterday and only saw the total of the price once in brief while I was talking to somebody and dismissed it. And my wife said later, I'm at home, she goes, how much was it? And I remembered the number just easily because I can do stuff like that. So there's advantages there. But you see, I don't have all that great of a memory in a lot of areas. That's why I need these things. If you want to learn and you want to get grounded, then I would recommend that you go to Discord, discord.com. And you can look me up. My name's Matt Slick on Discord. And I go in and I do AMAs, like Ask Me Anything. Tomorrow night, I'm scheduled to do one on Discord where a bunch of atheists and agnostics just come in and ask me questions. And so I do that. But it's one of the ways to find out, because what I'll do is I'll go into a Roman Catholic room. I'll open up my Roman Catholic document. And then if they bring something to me that's new, I haven't studied, I go find a place for it in that outline. And then I put subheadings in it. And then what I'll do is I will add notes in. And then later I'll go clean it up. And because of stuff like this, I'm writing articles on church fathers because the Catholics love their church fathers. They put the church fathers above Scripture. And so one of the things that I'm doing in that is church fathers is the church fathers. What do they say about Peter being the rock? Is he? What about sola scriptura? What about the Eucharist? And I'm looking at these from another document that I'm working on. And then what I do is I get that written. I put it into my Catholic document. So when I release this thing, I probably will publish it on Kindle. It's going to be over 200 pages long. And I might just release it as a PDF. Wow. I don't know. 200 pages. That's including index and everything.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
So I research.
Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. Sounds good, man. God bless. All right, we'll see you. Hey, folks, wide open lines. 5 open lines. Why don't you give me a call? 877-207-2276. Give me a call. We'll be right back.
Next time on Focus on the Family, Dr. Tony Evans explains what it means to have a kingdom marriage under God's authority and for his glory. He shares about maintaining oneness, the importance of having a servant's heart, and how to rebuild a marriage relationship that's been fractured. God's wisdom for your marriage on the next Focus on the Family.
I've realized that Jerusalem belongs to God as no other city ever has or ever will. There's a biblical sense in which Jerusalem is eternal and will never die. Jerusalem is God's own unique eternal city.
Join Dr. David Jeremiah for a geographical prophecy, Jerusalem, on the next Turning Point Weekend Edition.
We live in an on-demand world. Time, weather, meals, and content. That's why the Truth Network has the Truth Podcast Network. Some of your favorite Truth Network programs, plus some that are podcast only. Rich content that is rich in the Word.
The Truth Network's Lantern Rescue podcast sheds light on the horror of human trafficking. Listen to the knit and grit it takes to make these international rescue operations possible. With God's help, the USA-based Lantern Rescue team travels the world, and they have so many stories to share. The Lantern Rescue podcast at truthnetwork.com.
As retailers gear up for the Christmas shopping season and worry about shipping delays that will affect their inventory, what can you do? What should you be doing now to make sure you are truly ready for Christmas? Set aside some time this week to consider the real meaning of Christmas. Join John MacArthur here on Grace to You.
Plan to be with us for A Call to the Nation, a weekly message by Carter Conlon from Times Square Church in New York City.
There's only one voice left. And from time to time throughout history, we get to this same place over and over again where there is no hope apart from the voice of God.
Make this your place to be each week for a powerful message from God's Word with Pastor Carter Conlon here on A Call to the Nation.
How much time did you spend today looking at a screen of some sort? David Murrow's got the averages.
There was a study done by Nielsen Media Research, and they found that the average North American spends about 9 hours of their free time every day looking at screen content.
We'll talk about what happens to our lives and our relationships when we are drowning in screen time this week on Family Life Today with Dave and Ann Wilson.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Let's get to Roger from North Carolina. Welcome. You on the air? Are you there, Roger?
Hey, how we doing?
Doing all right.
Yes,
Hanging in
sir.
there.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. All right. So what do you got, buddy?
My question is, when's the first time the Gentiles actually came to faith? I know in in Acts in 10, 11, it says the Gentiles, God granted the Gentiles faith. But in John 4, when he goes to the Samaritan woman in the well, are those considered Gentiles or because they're mixed?
Samaritans, no, they were just Samaritans. There was Jews, Samaritans, Gentiles. Now, when you say come to the faith, do you mean, you've got a lot of noise going on back there, buddy.
Believe.
So, you got a lot of noise, distraction. So you're going to deal with that. All right. You ready?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the issue is, do they believe in the true living God? Then you'd have Gentiles who became Jews in the Old Testament. If you're talking about Christians, Gentiles who became Christians, that's another issue. So which is it then?
Oh, Gentiles becoming Christian.
Okay. So then we would have to go to the New Testament, and it generally seems the case that Acts chapter 2 is when we first kind of see that. But also, and I'll leave it at that because I know that there's an instance or two where Jesus, like the woman at even the dogs, and John, let's see. It's Matthew 15:24, I believe it is. Let me look at this because he was sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And the context of this is a woman, demon-possessed woman, was asking, would you just retire in Sidon? A Canaanite woman was helped. So, okay, I had to put myself together, my head on straight here. So a Canaanite woman is not a Jew, and she went and approached Jesus and wanted him to bless her. And he said, it's not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. Dog was a pejorative term for Gentiles. And she said, yes, but even the dogs feed on the crumbs which fall from the master's table. O woman, your faith is great. It shall be done for you as you wish. Her daughter was healed at once. So, was she a believer in the true living God? It would seem so, to the level of knowledge that she had, and this is preceding Acts 2. So then we have this issue of what degree of belief, and that, I don't want to try to sound too semantical here, but we had the centurion who believed and who went to Christ, and the servant was healed. We have this a Canaanite woman, and the centurion would have been a Roman citizen and not a Jew. So there were believers before Christ was crucified, and there were more believers after. So we would call the ones after, we'd call them Christians, but the ones before his crucifixion, resurrection, they were, as far as we can tell, believers in the truth, but they had a lesser knowledge. So you see how it's kind of difficult to answer, though? You see?
Yeah, see, that even with them believing, is the believing they had, was that just believing that Jesus could actually heal them because they saw him heal, or is that a belief in, he's God,
Right. Well, even the the Jews probably at this point did not know that Jesus Christ was God. And I think Mary probably did.
Yeah,
So it's a good question, but it's not that easy to answer, because
yeah, so that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, it's a good question. It is. It's one of those where let's just sit around at the table, get a cup of coffee each, and talk about it, and then come up to the conclusion that we can't come up to a conclusion. Okay, because that's kind of how it is. Because believing faith in the deity of Christ, no, I wouldn't say then. But we don't know what they actually believed. So we can't say they did or did not believe something. All we can go is what the text says. The text seems to imply that they had faith in Christ. Well, faith is only as good as who you put it in. They put it in Jesus. Can you be saved without knowing that Jesus Christ is God in flesh? Yes, you can. A person can be on the deathbed, not know anything, and minutes before death can just reach out to Jesus as a savior and just pray to Jesus, not knowing anything, and just ask Jesus, forgive me, and dies and goes to heaven. And then later learns. And these kind of things are certainly possible, not normative, but possible. So this is another level of questioning we'd have to get into about this. So it's not that easy.
When you said that, when Jesus went to the lost sheep of Israel, okay, is that just the sheep of the Israel of the Jews, or is it like Paul says that a Jew is one on the inside, not on the outside?
No. He's talking covenantally because he mentions the house of Israel. And the term house of Israel means national Israel. Acts 2:36, therefore let all the house of Israel know for certain that God has made him both Lord and Christ. And then you go to Acts 7:42 when Stephen is talking. He says, he's quoting the prophets. It was not to me that you offered victims and sacrifices 40 years in the wilderness, was it, O house of Israel? And so that's what it's referring to, national Israel. Okay.
So that makes sense because he first goes to them, they reject him, and that's when he goes to that's when he comes.
Right.
So that makes sense now.
That's right. And he actually tells the disciples not to go to the Gentiles. These 12 Jesus sent out. This is Matthew 10:6 or 5 and 6. These 12 Jesus sent out after instructing them, do not go in the way of the Gentiles, and do not enter any city of the Samaritans, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. This is it. A lot of people think, no, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Caucasian surfer Jesus wants everybody to be saved right away. That's not how it is. He was covenantally obligated because he's made under the law, Galatians 4:4. So we had them go to Israel. Israel broke the house of Israel broke the covenant. We Gentiles are grafted in, which was ultimately predicted in Genesis 12:3. Okay. You there?
Yep, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
But
good.
I sent you a link from a study.
Okay.
I just got from Sweden, where they're it's showing that the COVID and everything off that, it's showing that it messes up with the protein, the DNA protein, so it's not allowing them to repair the cell.
Yep.
So it's messing up the immune system.
Yep. Yes, I'm aware of that,
So,
and I'm looking for
I sent
confirmation
that
and documentation. Could you send it to me again? Because I want to make sure I have that. I'm trying to lay low on COVID research. I got so many other things to do, but it's just like a quicksand. It's draw me back in. But I do know that there are more studies that are coming out that it's altering some severe things, and potentially what's happening is, because you said this, it looks like it might be making people who are vaccinated more vulnerable to variants later on. So,
And that makes sense too, because if you look over the stats, that the more the population is vaccinated, the more problems they have. The
Yes.
sicker they're getting.
well, if you go to carm.org/COVID, and if you were to go and look there, you will see that I have done a great deal of research, a couple hundred hours of research, and I've got tables, deaths per 100,000 COVID and other causes of U.S. population, COVID vaccine effectiveness and percentages of infection in a population. These are information databases that I've gathered from the CDC, from VAERS, and from other sources that give us broad information. It's not just Matt made it up. And so there's a lot there. Personally, I don't trust the COVID vaccine. If I was forced to take it, let's just say something came up where some way I'm forced to in order to feed my family, I would tell my wife, you got to take me to the doctor and you got to stay there with me. We go home, you got to stay with me for a few days to see if I don't have to be hospitalized because of the COVID shot. Because there's myocarditis. It's 151,000 cases of headache. Fatigue is 124,000. Chills, 99,000. Nausea, 86,000. Dizziness, 83,000. Pain in the extremities, 76,000 cases. And also, get this, I have documentation to show that less than 1% are being reported.
Well, my problem now is that they're pushing this on the kids. And, it's one thing to have
child abuse,
over time, all these having all these boosters, each one of them, doing whatever it does, we don't know, because there's really no studies that's long term on it. And when you're giving a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7, what is the effect
that's
going to be?
Child abuse.
30, 40 years.
Yeah, it's child abuse.
Yeah, it's just,
because their immune system is fine. They don't need it. In fact, natural immunity is 13 times better than the COVID vaccines. And you don't spread it.
oh yeah, and they're
We're being
and
stuck.
there's no
Go ahead.
All right, Matt. Well, I appreciate the answers.
Sorry, man. But yeah, this is, I'm keeping it down on what I know about COVID. There's so much I've discovered. Yeah. And I believe the government is using it for control purposes. That's my opinion, that the government is using it to control the population, control people, to find out how far they can push people. H1N1 is roughly 2.5 times more deadly than COVID. This is 2009 flu epidemic of H1N1. They didn't shut the economy down, but now they do. And when they do that, businesses went out. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I think since they got approved it for kids, I think they're going to make it probably mandatory for kids to go to school.
Yep. And this is why I recommend that Christians don't have their kids go to school anymore. You have them go home, do homeschooling, get into a collection of stuff, and you can do that. And I'm serious.
Oh,
Get
yeah, you
them
can
out.
do it. I've got 8 kids. So it can be done.
It can be done. That's right. There's homeschooling
Yep,
options.
it can be done.
That's right. All right, buddy.
And believe it or not, yes, sir. Have a good one.
Call back tomorrow because you and I can talk a lot. Okay. All right.
All right.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, sir.
God bless. Okay, let's get to CJ from Boise, whom we lost. We're talking about middle knowledge, which would have been interesting, and Mary from Ames, Iowa. Mary, welcome. You're on the air. You got a couple of minutes.
Oh, wow. I'm desperate. Help. I have a 14-year-old grandson that I raised in a non-denominational church, and he's been doing all kinds of research on the Catholic Church, and all of a sudden now he's convinced that that's the church that he wants to be in. And first of all, I missed the part you were talking about Catholicism, and I missed what you were saying, how to get that information, but
how about this? We're almost out of time.
Yeah.
How about if you have him contact me, I'll talk to him over the phone, and I will tell him stuff about Catholicism he has not found. Catholicism is an apostate false religion, and if you believe in its official doctrines, you're going to hell. I can show so much stuff about it and its false teachings in so many areas. I have it documented up the wazoo. You have it. You tell him. I would be glad to talk to him over the phone and not yell. Just say, here, did you know
how
this?
does he get a hold of you, man?
Email me at info@carm.org and say, hey, so-and-so, talk about on the radio about Catholicism. I'm interested in talking to Matt about Catholicism, etc. Okay? I'd be glad to talk to him.
Oh, okay. Is there any questions I can ask him that would make him reconsider? Or you don't have time?
We don't have time. And if you call back tomorrow, I can do a little bit of an expose on Catholicism, and I can tell you stuff that is just incredibly bad. That's official Catholic stuff.
I will.
Okay?
I'll call back tomorrow.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Yep.
God bless,
Bye-bye.
Mary. Okay. Hey, folks, there you go. All right. By God's grace, we're back on there tomorrow, and I hope to hear from you then. And or if you listen then. Okay. And I hope you have a great evening. So God bless everybody. Talk to you later. All right, there you go. Hey, NASA, if you're still here, I don't know if you are or not, you can click on that link right there and you can come in and join us and have a little talk. I'm not going to jump on you. All right. Is my shirt considered a t-shirt? No, it's not. It's got long sleeves, so not a t-shirt. I guess Matt, I guess yes. I don't know. What do you mean? You guess yes. So all you gotta do is put that link in there, and you have to have a mic at least to talk. And anybody else who wants to come in, and we can talk a little bit. See you, Lana. Okay. And then you can, see NASA. You could see what kind of people God saves. We have a really handsome guy right there named Charlie, and then we have another guy who's a relative of we think the Welsh Sasquatch. We think that's what Bigfoot, and then we have myself, Asperger's. I'm an autistic guy. So you see, God saves all kinds of people.
Yeah, in regard to your comment about me, that borders on bearing false witness. So.
Okay, Randall, what's the URL of the schools you're trying to get into? It's important. Just type in the exact URL of you're trying to get into. Is it schools.carm.org? School.com? What is it? That's what I need to know. Can't log into, Randall, what? Andrew, you're here. Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a few things I want to say. One, I apologize if I overstepped the mark.
What are you talking about? Don't worry about it. Look, what you should do is just apologize once for all about all of them. Okay, and then it just don't worry about it. We understand. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's the other one?
Well, the other one is I want to say how hypocritical and idiotic people who teach the white people are that they're teaching racist stuff. That white people are racist. Let me just tell you how stupid you people are. You say that we white people are racist, but you are no better. You are no better because you are teaching children to be racist against white people. I understand that you black people have been enslaved by white people, but let me tell you something. If you are teaching kids that white people are racist and you're teaching to be prejudicial against white people, you are no better. Hypocrites.
Okay.
You know, thing is, you know, if you're going to get your own back, well, you're no better than the people who enslaved your ancestors.
Oh, okay.
I hope I'm not taking it too far, but I just wanted to say how stupid and idiotic they're being. I need, someone needs to tell them straight.
Okay. It's.
Yep. Some people need to be reminded that all of us, if we trace our ancestry back far enough, can go back to a drunken sea captain named Noah, and before him, a corrupt gardener named Adam. So there's really nothing to brag about. Yeah. We're all in this together.
Yep. They need to cut this racist crap out. There's only one race, the human race. The only difference between us is location and skin color. That's it. Yep. Nobody's inferior. Nobody needs to stop.
We got that. We got that. You're right. We understand. All right. So I'm doing some comments and put some comments in. Good. So we got Roger Hobson. He's been in before. Oh, there he is.
That's me.
And you got a baseball cap on backwards?
I do.
Okay. We can barely see you.
That's a good thing.
Okay, Laura, I don't want to say the URL to the new place because I don't want people to go there and start having problems right now. So Laura, if you could text me on my phone on what URL you are going to. In fact, I don't have my phone with me. It's around here someplace. So we could do that. Randall's of Scottish descent. I'm of German descent. Okay, Roger. Okay, back to you. Okay, what? Turn the light on so I can see you. Maybe it's not a good idea if you look like us.
That's what I said. It's better this way.
Okay, all right. You look like us then. So who do you look like most? Me, Charlie, or Andrew?
Oh no.
A cleaned up Andrew.
Andrew, you look more like Andrew.
Yeah.
Oh, that you poor guy. Oh,
I know.
It's so bad. You poor guy. Okay, well, there's always plastic surgery.
Well, my wife married me. It wasn't for the looks.
Same here. My wife married me, she said, because everybody else was boring. Even the good-looking guys, she goes, oh, they're boring. Oh. And she got depressed when she realized she really was attracted to me more than the good-looking guys with money. She goes, oh,
well,
no.
She's stuck with me now. We got 8 kids, so.
You got 8 kids? That's right, stuck. And
yeah, she's stuck with me.
And I don't know what you say, but I say to me, we'll go out to dinner, and I'll go, she goes, are you going to wear that nice shirt? And I go, why? I don't have to impress anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. So you're the guy who's calling about the COVID stuff, right?
Yeah, I sent you another link to it. So
good.
It's scary, man. It's scary.
Yeah. It's.
I pulled my kids are out of school. They homeschool, and there's no way I would send my.
Public school. Yeah. Yep. Sorry.
And that's why I would I would tell everybody to get their kids out of school. It's coming. I think Christians are, especially here in America, I don't think they realize how well they got it, but they're going to get a rude awakening really fast.
Yep. That's right.
So.
Okay, I'm going to do this. Go check something here. Schools login. Oh. Okay, so Laura's taking you to the new place. Okay, wow. Okay, if there's any problems with this, email them to webmaster@carm.org, webmaster@carm.org. All right, you can put screenshots in there and send it to this. What's exactly what we need to know. All right, back to you, Roger. Yes, I think Christians should not have their children in public schools if they can get away with it. Some people just, single moms, how you can't do that.
Well,
yes,
that's what happened
tonight.
Well, that's what happened in Virginia. I mean, everybody started actually seeing what they're teaching in public schools I mean, they're absolutely teaching pornography to kids, and they're teaching all kinds of stuff to kids. And and that's why Virginia flipped the way it did, because parents said, "Whoa, they're teaching this," and they actually got it out there. Good on those parents for actually taking the stuff, and they actually stopped them from reading a lot of the stuff that they had in the books. And they were reading them. They were actually reading and showing pictures, and they made them stop during the thing because it was so bad.
Yeah, I want to get more documentation on that. This is out of that book right here. Let's see, move this away. This is on page, location 61. Here's the book. Let's see. This is the cover, not my idea. This is in schools, elementary schools. Look at the cross right here. Interesting that the cross is here. And American flag. And so these are things that are going to be perceived negatively. And so here, I'll show you. Oh, come on, get over there. Come on, you slime ball. I talk to my computers when I do what I want. Yeah, I want to see stuff. See, bang, bang, bang. Look at this. Let me get this. Here we go. Why is that policeman screaming at him? Then bang, bang, bang. See, now the police are bad. They're scaring the children. See, gun. Look at this. Our family is kind to everyone. We don't see color. I want to bring my aunt a gift, just, whatever. Look at this. In stores and cars, on sidewalks, at school, your skin color affects the most ordinary daily experiences, including which neighborhoods you're welcome to. This is just propaganda crap.
It really is. It's the Nazis would be very proud of this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's unreal.
And there, I'll show you the picture of the. Look at this. Look at this. Many white people did things they never should have done. White people. It's attack white people. Many other white people fail to see the problem with this. These choices put wealth and power into white hands. Look, it's pissing me off. It's just friggin' stupid. And
tell me about it, Matt. It's hypocrisy. It's just.
Yes, it is. Here, look, watch this. Where's the Satan thing? Look at this, the contract I read over the air. There, look at this. See the flames and this behind? That's hinting of the devil. This is crap. So if I can get more information on what books are being taught, I would do a video on this. Which reminds me, I need video help. I need somebody who's really good at videos. I need to start doing some really good, high quality videos. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Roger.
In Mark Levin's book, American Socialism, Marxism. He documents the sources for a lot of these things very well. In fact, he's got so many footnotes. You can spend as much time reading the footnotes and documentation as you can the actual text of the book. But he did a super job in showing where this stuff originated from, who used to call it kooks, and now they're accepting what they used to call kooks as something that we ought to put in our educational frameworks. It's just it's the world upside down is what it is. Yep.
Well, I haven't really seen the CRT nonsense. I saw a bunch of the where like there had like the transsexual and the gay stuff, and I saw that. I really haven't seen the CRT as much. But the problem with the CRT and what they're teaching here is because Americans are pretty ignorant on history. Like I live in North Carolina on the coast, and the biggest slave owner here was a black man. So a lot of people think that, during the times of slavery and all that stuff, that it was just white people. Well, it's blacks owned slaves. They actually owned them at a higher rate. There were less black people, but the blacks owned slaves, the natives owned slaves, the Chinese owned slaves, all in America. Yeah. And the last people to give up their slaves was actually the Native Americans. because they didn't fall under the same laws as, you know, the regular Americans. They actually had to fight to
I'd love
to give them back.
Do you have that documentation? I would love that.
Yes, I can get that.
Seriously, let me show you why. This is my. Come on, hurry up, open up. This is the beginnings I have on the outlines on slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's only 5 pages right now, but it's, you know, they all start out slowly, and they gain. So anyway, was it you who was asking me? Was it you who was asking about how to do the outlines? Was it?
No, it wasn't me. But actually, I started looking into the slavery deal because, like, we have a palace up here in New Bern. It's just one of the, you know, the founding places that people, you know, settled. Well, in this palace, there's an actual plaque on there. It says, you know, Charles Stanley Crothers, the largest plantation, and it's a picture of a black guy. So I was like,
wow.
Okay, and I started researching into it, and in South Carolina, the biggest slave owner was black, and then I started doing some more research in it. Like in Louisiana, you know, there was more than 3,000 slave owners down there, and, you know, come to find out, a large majority of the blacks were actually slave owners. And it's because what happens is they, you know, like Frederick Douglass, they bought the freedom, and then they started, hey, this is a good deal, and they started buying other people. Of course, they bought their family, but then they bought a bunch of other ones to, you know, because that's just the way it worked. It's right. Like I said, it's back in, you know, even in Rome and, you know, the times of Christ, slavery was the thing you did. You know what I mean? It's it was part of and, you know, Jesus didn't come to take down all the bad things. He came to, you know, to save people. He you know, he wouldn't, you know, like they're doing now, trying to fight every bad thing. He's just trying to come to save people. So they didn't go into all that. That's why Paul says, you know, go back, you know, they didn't really fight against slavery. And there's different styles of slavery too in the Bible. So
absolutely,
it's not just
absolutely, yes, that's correct. Yep.
So like
people don't know.
In America, we hear the word slavery, we think of somebody went and got somebody and did this. You know, that's, you know, that you'd be put to death in the Bible if you went and stole somebody. That's a punishment by death.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've done a lot of. I have a section on Carm on slavery, and yeah, so absolutely.
But now, what they're doing, they're just using the CRT stuff they're running out of stuff because if you actually go and look at America, it's great. So they're actually having to dig up stuff and to make this new stuff, so just to cause diversity and try to cause problems.
Division, right.
Yeah, they're just trying to, division. They're just trying to divide Americans, because when you divide people, you can take and get them, everybody's tribal. So they, you know, if you point to this person and say that group doesn't like you and they're against you, you can get them to fight on your side. And that's what they're doing.
A divided majority can be overtaken by a united minority. And this is what they're trying to do. Sow division so they can conquer us.
That's
it's a common strategy.
Yeah, that's the common thread, is to sow division by resurrecting these old evils as though we haven't grown away from them whatsoever, but we have. And they're failing to celebrate how far we've come from those evils.
That's right.
They're ignoring it. In fact, they're denying it, and they don't want it pointed to that we've made great strides forward in a lot of these issues. No, they want to resurrect some old evil and whip it like a dead horse. Unfortunately, they're the squeaky wheel that's going to get the oil. So,
they need to let go of the past, forgive, and move on. They are holding themselves prisoners to the past.
They sure are, and they're trying to hold us prisoner with them. Yep, and that's terribly unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah. I have my own problems of my past, which I want to leave behind. I don't need theirs in the process.
Well, the problem is that Christians have backed away so far away from the government, is they don't have any say. And the people that are running the government now and running these programs and running these colleges, they're all liberal. They're all leftists. They want to sow seeds of, division. They want to divide because they can conquer us. And the Christians, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to you're not impose things, but you got to be in politics. You got to be in these things, because if they don't, you're going to be at somebody else's whim. And that when
That's
you're
right.
sending your kids to school, you need to have somebody representing them, and not just saying, "Oh well, we can't be in school. Let's just let them have it. Let's let the pagans have it. Let
No,
them
yeah, I
take
tell
control
people
of school."
don't do that. Get involved.
Yeah,
This is why we got to preach and teach from the pulpit. I keep saying this over the radio. Yep.
It's true.
And the problem is,
if we don't
we got a
attend to
bunch
these
of
political issues, it leaves a vacuum for others to tend to the political issues, and we don't want to leave that vacuum open for just whoever. We need to bring a Christian worldview with us, and to inform us and to form others, that are like-minded. But when we leave a vacuum open for it to be filled by just anybody, here's what happens.
Yep.
well, the problem is too, we got a bunch of weak pastors, and
Yep.
a bunch of pastors that don't have any theology. They got the surfer Jesus theology, so they don't want to make any waves. They don't want to say nothing. They just want to keep their mouth shut. They want to get as many people in, and that's it. They're not actually men that will stand on what they believe and say what they believe, and that's the issue we have going on here.
Yeah. Someone's been saying that over the radio for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And well, that's the problem, is because like the leftists own everything. They own most of the TV stations, pretty much every TV station, and then you got Facebook, you got eBay, you got everything that you can pay money with, PayPal. They own all these things. So what they do is they don't like the voices, they silence them.
That's right.
And
because the Christians have been asleep at the wheel.
Exactly. And
now
it's
they're
about
waking
time
up.
somebody need to wake up and say, wait a minute.
Might
If
be
we
too
don't
late.
get our stuff together, if we don't get our stuff together, we're not going to have anything. We're going to be in the corner, and we're going to sit there while we're in the gulags and say, well, what happened here? Well, we kind of didn't say anything, so everybody else took over, and that's why we're in the gulags.
We're going to be like Europe here pretty soon. Christians have no voice, and they're going to be nothing.
The cost of apathy. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
often I would tell parents, I go, would you send Christian parents? I go, would you send your kids to a Catholic church, a Mormon church, a Jehovah Witness church for 2 hours or 1 hour on Sunday? They say, oh my, no. And why are you sending them to public schools? They hate God. They're pro-abortion, pro-homosexuality, pro-Islam. They hate anything about righteousness. So why are you sending your kids to a public school for 8 hours, 6 hours a day, 6 to 8 hours a day?
That's right.
At least if they go to a Catholic, they're going to get some truth, a little bit of truth.
Some, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then no truth in the public.
Hold on one sec. Oh, thanks, hon. Oh, look at that salad. My wife makes great salads. She's a great cook. And I need to get going here pretty soon, too. Got to teach Bible study and clean up. But, yep, I'm with you. Hey, I agree with you. We got to unite, and we need to resist. We need to resist the left, and we need to get the people in the pulpits have got to start preaching everything. That's why I say today that everything is under the lordship of Jesus Christ. You don't have the right to not speak on this stuff.
But you know what?
Exactly.
Most Christians will say, the world is not my home. I'm not going to get involved. I go, no, you're a Christian. Everything's in the. You're right, Matt. But most Christians don't want to get involved.
That's right.
Because of the rapture. They go, well, the rapture. There's nothing that the rapture could cure. Well, are you sure that you're a pre-trib? Are you sure that's going to happen? You're going to bank your whole. Man, they don't understand.
They're not talking about the cost of discipleship.
No.
The church is being purified.
But can I just add?
Okay.
All of you have made some excellent points. All of you. But might I just add, fellow Christians, the leftists understand one thing. They understand that united we stand, divided we fall. Because we are not united, we are falling, we are crumbling.
Yep.
Now, unless you stand up for the very scriptures in which we believe and for what we want our kids to know, you need to stand up. Otherwise, we're going to crumble, we're going to fall, we're going to lose, and basically, you're just going to be their puppets. You're just going to be a bunch of Muppets as their puppets.
That's right.
You need to stand up, preach this to your kids, and also teach them apologetics. Teach them apologetics. That is vital. And most important of all, teach them the scriptures.
Yep.
Exactly.
Give them a good starting point, and hopefully your kids won't lose faith.
And the fathers need to step up and disciple their children. You don't have the youth pastor disciple your children. You disciple your children.
That's right.
I wouldn't send my kids to half of these youth pastors.
No.
They have no. But
That's
hopefully,
why it's vital that we bring the Christian worldview into all these areas. I mean, and the product will end up being a strengthening of our societal fabric. But if we're going to sit idle, that fabric's going to continue to tear and rip and wear away.
well, hopefully,
That's
like the
right.
Virginia thing, hopefully God sent Biden just to be so bad to wake people up. Hopefully that's the case. I hope it's not the other way around, but hopefully he sent him this, this guy is so terrible that people will start waking up and say, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense, and start turning like they did in Virginia. I mean, that's really the only hope. People need to start waking up and
Does it matter when they steal the election? It doesn't matter because they're crooks. They're evil.
Oh, yeah.
They're demon possessed.
Well, we got to have the term. The turn has to come sometime. If it's going to be a turn, it needs to start taking place.
Yeah,
It needs to happen in the church.
Yeah, and there is a dimension
Exactly.
of all this. There is a dimension that adds to it of the spiritual warfare that's going on in the heavenlies. So this is even more important that we pray and we come together like this, and like-minded people come together and do something to move things forward. Yeah.
It's fun because I used to go to a mega church. It's a good Bible-believing church, but when they had prayer meetings, you had 4 to 5 people show up. But they have a chili cook-off, you have 2,000 people show up.
Of course.
So, I mean, what's the lot? I mean, that's when the church has lost it, kind of. It's like, no, wait a minute. We're not going to have any chili cook-offs until we start getting serious about prayer.
In seminary, they had a chapel, and a lot of times the Korean women would show up an hour before the chapel service, where the seminary students would gather. We have a chapel service. The Korean women would go into the chapel and pray for the chapel service. Yeah, it was impressive. They were impressive. All right, guys.
I need to say something about. I told you about a few weeks ago about how that art gallery in Chicago laid off all those women, volunteer white women, because there were 2.
Yeah.
So is it info@carm.org?
Yeah, info@carm.org. Send everything there.
Okay,
yeah,
I will.
That's what has to happen. That's what we need. All right.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Matt. We'll see you tonight at the study.
For this study, Lord willing. All right. We'll see you guys. God bless.
All right. God bless everybody.
Goodbye.